Okay. My stream was struggling to get started for some reason. Hopefully it doesn't kick me off. Should be live now. Give people a few minutes to get in here. If you guys are watching the VOD, you can go ahead and skip forward a few minutes. Our shipping portfolio is looking really good. The Maddox is up 11%. NMM we just bought, we're up about 1/4% on that. Our ZIM position is back to being green after dollar cost averaging all the way down. So all three of our shippers are green. That's beautiful. And then we have the dividend portfolio. We're up 6% on AWR. We're down 6% on HRL, but I'm probably going to add to that. So we'll dollar cost average that a little bit. And then our main portfolio, down a little bit today, I think, because of Chewy. Let's see. Yeah, Chewy's red a little bit. PayPal also down about 1%. Coinbase is up, though, so we're green on that. How can I get this volume profile for free? You can't get it for free on TradingView. You have to have at least their lowest paid plan. What's going on, Mr. Burnsy? Yeah, on TradingView, you have to have any of their paid plans. It doesn't matter which one. You have to have at least the lowest one, though. I don't know of any charting softwares that give you volume profile for free, to be honest. John said Thinkorswim does. He said it's limited to daily. So you can't do intraday stuff, I guess. Thinkorswim is TD Ameritrade's platform. All right, guys, let's get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is pretty standard. Not really a whole lot to talk about today. SPY, perfectly balanced. Slightly bullish, obviously. You did gap up. Had a lot of volume trading towards the high. But pretty much just perfectly balanced today. And then Qs would be bearishly balanced. You have most of the volume towards the low, and we had a small gap down and then a sell-off during the opening session. So you can see that resistance node that we did mark out yesterday around 369.71 acted as resistance and then sent us lower today. So big sell-off there. Sellers are very strong up here, so you got to watch out for that. SPY hasn't tested any levels from yesterday. So not a single one of my alerts went off because we gapped up and then we've just been hovering inside today's range. We did not go down to test support from yesterday. The value area was not tested. The highs were not tested. Nothing. So no alerts went off today. Like I said, very, very standard. Long time frame traders are not trading today. It's all the scalpers that are in control. Typically, when you see a balanced day like this, the scalpers are in control. The long time frame traders typically trade during the first hour and the last hour of the day, and they don't trade during this chop, right? So during a balanced day, you guys know you can buy the lows, sell the highs until the balance is broken. And we did not break the balance. So you are still buying the lows and selling the highs as long as they are giving you entry signals, okay? So right now you're actually getting an entry if you can hold back above this value area low. So the easiest way to show a day like this, instead of doing what I normally do, let's actually show you the developing value area, and you can see kind of how today played out. And then let me hide the profile. So here you can see every time that we went below the value area low, we popped back into the POC, popped back up. Every time we got outside of it, we fell down. Okay? So during a balanced day, this is really all you need is the value area. That's all you need. You can obviously look at previous days levels for support, resistance, right? You can look at the nodes. But during a balanced day, the scalpers are buying the lows and they're selling the highs. It's that simple.
Mara's breaking out high, bro.
Bernsey, I am using, let me see, 100 row size and 70 value area. I think it starts at 68. I'm using 70. Somebody asked me on YouTube comments why I don't leave the developing value area on. And really the only reason I don't leave it on is it just makes my chart look messy. That is the only reason. If you guys don't mind having it on your chart, then feel free to leave that on. And I also like what I do right now, where I go and I mark out the levels for myself. I don't let the indicator do it for me, because it makes me active. It makes me watch the profile. It makes me understand where these levels are coming from. It's just a better way to practice. It's letting the indicator do it for you. In that instance, is just not really a good thing in my eyes. Especially if you guys are new. I guess it's give and take. If you guys are new, leaving it on will definitely help you. But it's going to hurt your practice. Because if you're new, you should be practicing finding those levels on your own. So it's really just preference. Yeah, like I said, there's not a whole lot to go over today. Let's see. For Qs, I could probably go over a little bit more. So we had a couple of gaps right here on Qs. These are volume gaps. So when today opened, you could have looked for any strong bounce off those volume gaps in order to play the gap fill. Like play the gap fill up to, 369.50. But you did not really bounce that strong off those levels. This one you kind of did. This one not so much. And then once you rejected that level, and you rejected this level, it was clearly weak, right? And then pretty much every level from this day was resistance. You popped up, you used the massive node right here as resistance right on the open, and then you sold off, right? And once we sell off there, what are we looking for? We're looking for this support node here. That didn't act as support. It actually acted as resistance. You can see we popped back up and then failed it. That's not good. And then that's really it. There's nothing else on this day. There's just a tail. The tail's not going to help us. Okay? So then looking back to this day, we have little node there, value area high. The node there acted as support for the start of the day. So let's see if I draw this out a little bit. You can see how it's kind of acting as, let me hide this. It's acting as support here, but then we lost it. Okay? So clearly a short signal, lots of support, and then rejection. And then we had this node right here. It tried acting as support on the retest when we came back, but not so much. And then the value area high, you broke that, came down to test the POC, beautifully bounced off the POC, and then we reclaimed the value area high. So above the value area high, you are slightly bullish. But then below this node, you're slightly bearish. So you're kind of stuck, right? You're balancing. It hasn't determined if it wants to break the node or break the value area high, right? So this is going to be support, 367.54, and then around 368.20 is resistance. And then if we're looking at just today, the volume gap actually lines up perfectly with the value area high. So 368.50, we need to reclaim that. And then the value area low of today also lines up perfectly with the value area high of Wednesday. Okay. So clear support here, clear resistance here. Everything in between is just balancing out. Same exact thing with SPY, pretty much. Clear support, clear resistance, balancing out. Let's take a look at what happened with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin today, I think I deleted all my levels. I did delete all my levels. Damn it, I shouldn't have did that. Okay, let me redraw the levels and then we'll go over it. I deleted them earlier because somebody asked me about Bitcoin. There's your value area high. There is your POC. There is your value area low. We have a big node here. We have another node right here. Another one here. So this is a very weird day. So you have a lot of nodes. You don't have to draw out every single node if you don't want to. It's just a good idea of kind of what's going on here. All right, and finally we have a node right here. I'm ignoring this node because it's right on the value area low. And to be honest, I can also ignore this node because it's on the POC. Okay, so these are all our major support levels. So we need to watch for any kind of major reaction off of these levels. So when it opens up, you fail this level here, gets a little weak, tries to bounce, fails it again, and then bounces. So a little bit of weakness there. What it looks like it's trying to do is fill this gap right here. So you see that volume gap right there? What did I tell you guys throughout the week and yesterday? I said when there's a volume gap and price comes back to retest it, the gaps are areas of rejection. The nodes are areas of acceptance. The gaps are areas of rejection, right? So the nodes are prices where people are agreeing that is a good price. The gaps are where people are not agreeing that it's a good price. They're agreeing that it's a bad price, right? So when you have a gap here and you come back to retest it, if it's very bullish, it needs to reject that area. Okay? If it's bearish, you will lose that area. Once again, rejecting it, but you'll be rejecting it to the downside. If you want to balance out, you're going to fill that area in. So how you react to that gap is kind of telling you what the day is going to be like. Are you going to be a bullish day, bearish day, or are you going to be a trending or a non-trending day, a ranging day? Right. So what do we do here? We came back to retest the gap and we bounced off of it immediately. So that tells us that this wants to be bullish. Okay. So that is the first clear sign that we are bullish. Then we have this level right here where it comes back to retest. It fails this node. So a little bit of weakness up here. But then it bounces off this node here, which is higher than the gap. So the gap is still showing an area of rejection. So that is very bullish. And then once you break the POC, once we break above this node, like I've been saying, that node becomes support. So like this entire node right here becomes support. So once we break that, this is all support. And now we're very bullish. So now what are we doing? Let's delete everything. Now you can see how you would have used your previous levels to trade today's price action. All right, let's delete them. What are we doing now? We're building a new node. We're building a massive node up here. So it's building a kind of a distribution node up here. So as long as you stay above the low of this node right around 422, which is also conveniently the value area high, then this is bullish. So when we break away from this, this becomes support, right? If we fall back into the value area high, then we're looking for like the gap there. Or we're looking for the POC and the value area low. Okay. So this is a short signal down to the gap and down to POC and down to the value area low. If it bounces, that is bullish. You can zoom out and look for previous levels, or you can just use today's profile. As it develops nodes, you continue higher, right? This is also bullish, just going straight up here, using this node as support. That is all you're looking for. Everything else, you don't care. You don't care about what happens in here. You don't care about what happens in there. You don't care about what happens in here. You're just looking for those signals. That signal there, there, or there. So you have like one that could be bearish there, one that could be bullish, and then one that could be bullish up here. And that's pretty much it. There's really not much that happened today. So what I'm going to do, because we have a lot of time left, I'm going to go over some normal stocks and see kind of what happened. You guys have any questions? We got some big volume coming in on Qs actually on the low. People are buying the dip. You know what I want to do actually? Let's take a look at Robinhood. Because Robinhood's been giving us some crazy price action. And it's fairly new. So let's take a look at kind of what has been going on with Robinhood. All right, and I'm actually going to do this like this. Let's hide this. There's the value area high. There's the low. Any gaps? Not really. There's a gap kind of right here. Not a big gap though. Anything else? No. No nodes down here. No nodes up here. You do have an excess tail. This is a single print excess tail is what it's called. This just means that price tried to push higher aggressively, but the sellers were very, very aggressive and they nuked it all the way back down. So like if we look at this on the price chart, it's going to look like a clear rejection. You see that? That is an excess tail. Okay. So now we have our levels from the 4th. Let's see kind of how we could have traded this on the 5th. So what do? We opened up with a gap down, so clearly bearish, but we did open up on the value area low. So as long as it held this level, it was bullish. You tried to lose the level, reclaimed it, so this was actually bullish here, but you could not get above that gap. So that gap is an area of rejection. So if we're very bullish, we would have to break through it very cleanly and not test the level really. We couldn't do that. So once it started to fail here, that was very bearish. And then once we lost this value area low and retraced and tested it as resistance, that is clearly bearish. So that is a clear short signal right around there. So first signal was the gap down, bearish. Second signal was not being able to break the volume gap. Third signal was breaking the value area low. And the final signal was retesting the value area low as resistance. So all the signals were pretty bearish. Okay, let's move on. Let's do this again. I'm going to delete these drawings. We're going to hide the price chart. Let's grab our levels. We got some pretty big gaps on this one. So here's a gap. We have a tiny gap like right here. And then I think that's it. These are too small. I'm not going to take those. We have a gap right here as well. And then we have a very strong node on the low here. We can mark out our POC. We don't need to mark that node. And then that's pretty much it. I'm not going to mark that because there's already gaps there. This one I'm not going to mark. There's already a gap there as well. Like I said, if there's overlapping levels, I don't mark them. Okay. Now let's see how we could have traded this day according to yesterday. All right, so we gapped up. Very nice open. Tried to push above these gaps, which was very bullish. So right on the open, we're very bullish. But then we lose the gaps immediately. So once we reject those prices bearishly, that is a very clear sign that we're bearish. Tried to push above them, rejected them to the downside, and then pushed lower. So very bearish. But what did I say earlier? When you have volume gaps below you and you come back to retest them, if you bounce off them as a rejection point, that's very bullish. So we did that right here. So that's very bullish. So you could have looked at that as a long entry or some kind of long opportunity if your indicators were lining up properly. Let me show the developing value area. Let's see how this reacted. So right here, we reclaimed the value area low, so that could have been a long entry as well. There's your first target, which you probably would have ignored because it's too close. It's not a good risk to reward. And you would have looked for the value area high. So you basically would have hit your target right around there. And then, let's see what happens here. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Give me 1 second, guys. Forgot to change my thumbnail again. I keep doing that. I make thumbnails and I forget to use them. Okay, we're good. All right, sorry. Back to what I was saying. So, let's small recap here. Bounced off the value area, or sorry, the volume gap. Oh, 1 sec. My value area is breaking. You see how my value area low disappeared? This is why I don't like using this. It glitches. There we go. Okay, so we reclaimed the value area low. That was bullish. You wouldn't have targeted this because it was too close. You basically hit your target there. If you were being a dick for a tick, like trying to get this exact level, you would have lost that trade. You would have missed that exit. But if you were watching this, that was close enough to your target to close. All right, so now what are we doing? Then we rejected the volume gap. So that is a clear rejection, being bearish. And then we go back down to the value area low. So this is this is another example of a balancing day. So today is just balancing out. You gapped up, failed, bounced, failed. So you're just balancing out. Buy the lows, sell the highs. As long as you're balancing, you're safe to buy the lows, sell the highs. All right, let's delete all these levels. So now moving forward, we're watching the value area high. We're watching the low. Are there any nodes? There's a little node down here. You could grab this node, like if you wanted to grab this tiny little node. And then grab like this one here. You have a pretty big node up here as resistance as well. And this is not an exact science. I know you guys are probably watching me build the nodes and you're wondering like where exactly do I grab? It's not an exact science. I just kind of eyeball it. I've just been doing it for so long that it's kind of intuition. So once you guys have some practice, you'll know exactly where to grab. It's not an exact science though. If I had to put it into like words, what I do is what is my chart doing? There we go. If I had to put it into words, this is a good example. I just look for the peak, and wherever it starts to drop off rapidly, that is not a part of the node. So like I would grab this, because then it starts to drop off rapidly, if that makes sense. So like if I were to grab this one, I would go like this or all the way down to the bottom. But like I said, it's not exact science. It doesn't have to be perfect. Really, all this is doing when you're drawing these levels out is it's letting you know like, okay, this is an area that I want to be paying attention to. It doesn't have to be exact. You just have to pay attention during those areas. Sorry, he said I trade the UK session, so should I look only a UK session volume profile or a US volume profile? What are you trading in the UK session? I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you trading American stocks? Is that what you mean? Like American stocks during the UK session? Can I check AMD? Yeah, let's take a look. So AMD is hitting our secondary targets. Our final target would be 132. But you are rejecting this resistance area. So now we're pulling back to our support around 107 and 109. If you can bounce here, then you're going to go back to that area there, and then your final target. If you don't bounce here, very likely going to go back to these previous highs. Volume profile wise, we actually had a nice retrace trade today. So like if you took the high there and then the low, once you broke away from this but then reclaimed it, this was a very nice trade all the way down to the value area low. So now that trade is complete. And now what are we seeing? Now we're seeing a break at the value area low and we're pushing lower. So this is very bearish until you reclaim 112. It is setting up for another 80% trade based on this value area here. So if you lose 109, you'll probably go down to 107.30. You said you're trading forex. I trade the UK session, so should I only look at the UK sessions volume profile or US volume profile? I do trade forex, currency pairs. Yeah, so forex is a little hard because it's the market is almost 24/7. So it's a little difficult to figure out which profile you want to be using. But even the markets that are 24/7, they have a technical opening and closing date, right? So you want to be paying attention to the profile during that that opening session all the way up to where you are currently trading. So like if the time of day that you're trading is like 5 hours away from the opening session, then you want to be paying attention to that opening session, right? If the time of day that you're trading is very early in the opening session, so let's say it's only an hour in, the day has only been going for an hour, then you probably want to be using the previous day's volume profile as your levels. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm showing you guys how to use the previous day as your main levels. If your trading session is very deep into the session, so like the session is getting ready to close, then you can use that session as your profile. So like if the session has been running and it only has about an hour or two left, those levels are going to be pretty strong because they're already formed. So it really depends on where your trading session is according to the profile. SPY just completed a complete value area retracement. Let's take a look. Yes, it did. And it's because it's completely balancing. This is a textbook balancing day, which is very healthy. Because we had a distribution, right? So massive distribution. Now we're breaking out, so you would expect it to be extremely bullish. We're just going straight up and then putting in like a P shape. But this is being very healthy. It's balancing out. So it's going higher and balancing. So if it's going higher and balancing, this is telling you that they're agreeing that this is a good price. So the market is agreeing that they like this higher price. So very likely we'll continue higher next week unless we have some like economic reports or whatever that go poorly. Just based on technicals, though, they are agreeing that that is a good price. Lots of buy the dip signals coming in throughout the day. Showed you that today was slightly bullish.
Look at that bounce on Apple. And also Neo's bouncing.
Yeah, Neo just started rocketing. Our shippers are looking good. Beautiful retrace on this. This was perfect, literally perfect. Because we dollar cost averaged all the way down. So now this is positive for us. And then Maddox, we also dollar cost averaged. We bought a lot over here as well. So this breakout is really clean. I think we got dividends. I'm not sure. I might have got dividends on some of my shares, not all of them. Can I check NASDAQ? Let's take a look. So NASDAQ is just pulling back to retest that that breakout point. So we had the value area high of that entire distribution. We broke out of it, and now we're pulling back to retest it. got a 4-hour buy the dip signal. That's pretty good. 30-minute is a little bearish. You can see the OTS is red. You went from green to red. So once it started to shift there, that's a little bearish. But this looks pretty good. Nice little double bottom coming in. This could be a bulldog forming, where we have that double bottom and then it pops up and then it pulls back. He said, I saw your videos a few days back. The first time came to know about volume profile. After seeing your video, I took 7 trades and I won 6 trades scalping. I would really like to thank you from the core of my heart. Hey man, I appreciate that. No problem, dude. I'm happy to help. That's a really good success rate, man. 6 out of 7. That's very, very good, man. Like I said, it's not all me, man. It's a lot of the execution. I can teach you guys how to find the levels. I can teach you guys like what opportunities it gives you, but you guys have to execute the levels properly. So you executing 6 out of 7 trades, winning, that's fantastic, man. For swing trades, how do you trade using volume profile? Same exact style, man. The same exact style. You do everything the exact same. You just do it on a longer time scale. So I kind of showed you guys on NASDAQ how to do that. So what I did on NASDAQ, let me hide the drawings. Actually, no, I can't hide it. So let me, so for like swing trading, like if you want to take a long-term trade on this, it's called taking composites. Okay. So when we grab a profile of a range and you incorporate multiple profiles, it's called taking a composite. So you want to take a composite of this range, right? So like if you're looking at a distribution, you can take a composite of that range and then use your levels of that profile as your swing trading levels. Okay? And it doesn't have to be like a lot of days. You can take a couple of days. So like if I move over, let's go to ES. So like, okay, if I want to set up a swing trade here, I can grab the previous 3 days. Or actually, hold on, today's Friday, so let's do it this way. Today's Friday, so I'll grab the previous 4 days. We'll grab the entire week. So this is Monday through Thursday. This is the profile that it's giving us. If we want to take the entire week, we can. So like that's the weekly composite. This is all of our individual days. And this is our weekly composite. Okay? So if I wanted to take longer term trades, you just take more, you take a bigger composite and you do the exact same trading. You find the same levels, you use the same techniques. It's just on a bigger scale. So like, here's a good example. What's today? The 6th? Let's take the entire month of August as a composite. So when did August open? August opened right here. So actually, it turns out to be the same exact thing I just did. So let's actually do it this way. That's a bad example. Because the week is the month. Let's go back and I'll show you July. So like if we take the entire composite, where does it start? Right. Trying to get it exact. It's like right here. Okay. So that is the entire composite of July. So now once August opens, we need to see how does price react to the composite of July. And we just do the same exact thing. We just grab our gaps, grab our levels, grab our nodes, you know what I mean? Value area low, value area high, you guys know the deal. Grab our POC. This is a balanced profile, so I'm not going to take these nodes. I mean, you can, just to prove a point here, you can, like if you took this node, you can clearly see it's acting as support. But for balanced profiles, what you need to understand is most of the volume is in the middle, everything else is falling. So there are going to be nodes in these areas, but it's all balanced, right? So as you go lower, there's support. As you go higher, there's resistance. Okay. So what we could have seen on the start of August, if we were swing trading this, is it came down to test a very dominant node on July's profile, and then we bounced out of it. So once you bounced back above July's value area high, look at what we did. Let me zoom in. This is July's value area high. So once we opened in August over here, we lost it, we retested it again bearishly, bounced off support, and then we retested the value area high bullishly multiple times. So then once this happened here, this is a very clear support around 43.95. So now we can say throughout all of August, as long as 43.95 holds, this is bullish. And that's how you can swing trade using the volume profile. Yeah, no problem. Make sure if you guys like the content, hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube if you guys are new. I stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We've been focusing mainly on volume profile lately because I know you guys are still trying to learn and you guys do like that kind of content. You can see how bullish SPY is right here. It's above the 200. You're green on the OTS. Buy the dip signals are all playing out beautifully. The Momo is showing a massive bullish uptrend. Very strong. You are topping out a little bit. You can see the short-term momentum is falling rapidly. Long-term momentum is starting to fall. So we are definitely topping a little bit. But overall, nice trend here. I've learned from your 4 shapes, capital D, capital B, capital P, and lowercase b. Are there any more shapes? There are more shapes, but they're not really worth focusing on because they're so rare. What was it? Was it Q's yesterday? Q's had another shape that I didn't teach you guys. Was it Q's? Let me see if I can find it. Let me delete my chart. I know it's getting a little ridiculous. So like this day, I guess that would be a capital B. I can't really find the example I was trying to show you. But almost every day will fall into those 4 categories. Like this, you could consider this a capital B. Let me see if I can find that one day. There's like one more day. That's very rare. It's kind of like this. So let me... Actually, I don't need to delete these. Let me just hide them. So like a day like this, where you don't really have a dominant node on the top, you don't have a dominant node on the bottom, you're just putting in nodes throughout the entire day. Like we have these like nodes all the way throughout the entire day. That is another day that you'll see quite often. And for the most part, it's called an outside day because almost every time that this happens, it's going to be an outside day where like this was the previous value area and now we're breaking the high and breaking the low. So whenever you see a profile like that, it's basically an outside day. And it just means that there's no real conviction on any of those levels. It's just trading multiple levels without finding a lot of balance. And how you want to trade those days is understand that it is most likely not going to stay at any of those levels. So like when it starts to consolidate, it's very likely going to push away from that consolidation very quickly. So like if you pop up and then consolidate, it's very likely going to push in one of the directions away from that level. And you have to use all of the other techniques that I taught you to determine which way it's going to break. But just know that it's most likely not going to balance out. It's like a non-balanced day, pretty much. It doesn't have an imbalance. There's not a massive imbalance on the high. There's not a massive imbalance to the low. It's just not balancing at all. So it's imbalanced, but it's not directionally imbalanced, I guess you could say. It's very confusing, which is why I did not cover it. And it's extremely rare. Like, look at how many days we have. You don't see that kind of day very often. Most of the days you will see are D-shaped, balanced, P-shaped, bullish imbalance, lowercase b, bearish imbalance, and then capital B, double distribution day. If you master those 4 days, none of the other days matter. Bunch of calls coming in on Cheddarflow. What's going on? Let's see. Big block trade on Walmart, actually. 1.3 million. More Expedia calls coming in, too. What's Walmart doing? Walmart has earnings. So somebody is playing earnings on Walmart. Let me grab that. 150 calls. So they're out of the money calls for all October 15th. That's big size. I don't play earnings. We've seen a couple of earnings, big plays come in the past few weeks. The biggest one that we saw was the Snapchat play. The guy went heavy on Snapchat calls before earnings, and he got paid. This one's about the same size. I think the Snapchat one was 2 million. Somebody's betting big on Expedia. I think, do they have earnings as well? Oh, they already had earnings. So somebody's buying a bunch of calls on the dip. You guys have any other questions? SPY still balancing out. You can see a lot of volume coming in on the closing session. A lot of bullish volume. A lot of volume coming in towards the lows, buying it up. All right, and there's the close. All right, guys, unless you guys have any questions, I'm going to close it down. Let you guys enjoy your weekend. Appreciate all the support this week. We've been hitting some pretty crazy numbers on YouTube lately, especially with the series on how to trade volume profile. You guys have been awesome. I have not finished updating or editing those videos. I think I've got like 2 videos left. I've been very, very busy. I'm going to try to finish updating those within the next couple of days. The first part 1 and part 2 are finished being edited. I just have to finish editing the next 2 to 3 videos. So look out for that. Hopefully I'll have that done this weekend. No promises, but I'm going to try. But all right, guys, you guys enjoy your weekend. Sorry, let's see. You had a question. If POC formed to the lower part, market goes up, market goes to the upper part, and the POC formed to the higher. Sorry, your question's a little confusing. If the POC formed at the lower part, the market goes to the upper part, and if POC formed at the high mostly, am I... Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what you mean, man. The way you worded your question is a little confusing. If the POC formed on the lower part and then price pushes higher and this creates a bigger node, then the POC will shift to the high. I think that's what you're asking. The POC will always shift where the highest volume node is. And then a standard deviation formula is created to find 70% or 68%, whichever number you're using, of the volume traded in that standard deviation. But all right, guys, you guys get out of here. You guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. The weekly watch list will come out on Sunday around 4 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys watch out for that. If you guys are new here, the weekly watch list goes over SPY, Qs. We go over Bitcoin, Ethereum. We look at gold, oil. I've added in some forex in there as well. And we also go over our weekly watch list for stocks. Okay, so check that out. That's going to come out on Sunday. And then I'll be streaming on Monday. All right, guys. You guys have a good weekend. Peace out, guys.